East and Gulf Coast ports are preparing for a shutdown as labour talks stall before a contract deadline later on today. The International Longshoremen's Association will post an updated statement on Facebook. President Biden saying he won't intervene in any strike, telling reporters that resolving the dispute is a matter for collective bargaining. Bloomberg's Dani joins us from a shipping port in Newark, New Jersey. Dani, how close are we to this strike?
About 16 and a half hours, John. By all indications, with no talks scheduled, with the White House not intervening, the strike will go on unless something remarkable changes. So at 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, as the head of the Longshoremen's Association put it, a sleeping giant will be awakened. This is some half of trade that comes into the U.S. that the ports will be affected, 36 in total, all along the East Coast and the Gulf. The two main sticking points, they want a significant wage and benefits increase, some 80% over the next 6 years. The current offer up, the Longshoremen's Association has called it stingy. The other big sticking point is automation. They want significant language written into the contract to prevent automation that we see in the ports of Asia, that we see in Amsterdam. They do not want that for fear of jobs lost. Now, they have significant leverage at this time, more than they have in some time, considering it is administration friendly to labor. And there's a supply-demand issue. There are not enough people to do these jobs. So it is leverage, which ironically is part of the reason that these employers want to put automation in the first place.
And of course, the other point of that leverage is this administration definitely does not want to see a spike in inflation before November 5th. Dani, can you give us a sense of what the timeline is now for these talks?
Well, so the contract expires at midnight. So we, again, are just talking hours away from that kind of thing. But there are no scheduled negotiations. Everything we know about what's been offered, that's been happening behind closed doors, too. Has not been made public. From what we understand, the White House has been trying to act as a mediator. But again, this is happening behind closed doors. The timing does get tricky because even if these ports are just shut down for a few days, that has ramifications that last weeks. By some measures, just 1 day of shut ports will take a week to clear out. So days turns into weeks. If it is a week-long strike, it means months. And that's when you start running into the issue of the holidays. Sure, some of these retailers have been stocking up, but places like small businesses don't have the capacity to hold up inventory. So again, this needs to be resolved in just a few days in order to not have a bigger economic impact.
Do we have a sense, Dani, of how many protections have sort of been baked in, whether it's maybe rerouting maybe some of these ships to the West Coast ports or delaying some shipments given the stockpiles and just hoping that things get resolved in 3 weeks' time?
Well, so ports like where I am here in Newark, the head of the port workers here has been calling before to get things sped up. They've basically elongated hours heading in today in hopes that they would be able to do it. But that can only get you so far. You were just talking about Helene, especially with the southern ports. There have been a lot of trucks who've been unable to traverse the south of America because of the hurricane, meaning it's been harder to kind of speed things up, get ahead of this. When it comes to the West Coast ports, there is an idea of solidarity. The head of the Longshoremen's Association has said that the West Coast ports will not cooperate with diverted shipments. So that's not so much of a probability. And also HSBC says that they can only handle some 17% of the cargo coming over. Canada, the Port of Montreal, is also dealing with its own strike. So Lisa, in terms of alternatives, there are not a lot right now.